I don't think it's going to happen. Time will tell. I am looking forward to baseball practice, though.
You're playing baseball?
My son is.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Are you coaching?
I am not coaching, but I very much enjoy watching him play, so I'm going to the practice. But baseball's an outside sport.
Yeah, it's kind of how that works, right?
And it's challenging here with this rain that we have. Dylan's Rule, thank you for watching us on Twitter. We appreciate you, Dylan's Rule, and your support of all our programs. We sincerely mean that.
That's a pretty cool name, actually.
Yeah, Dylan's Rule. It's a play on Virginia.
Yeah,
and it's a Dylan Rule state. Very well-read viewer and listener, Dylan's Rule, who is able to pontificate on quite a bit across the board. Viewers and listeners, give the show a like and a share. Live in downtown Charlottesville, Jesse Rutherford, hello. Tim Carson, hello. Rob Neal, hello. Johnny Ornalis, hello. Brandon Harrop, hello. Jesse Howard, hello. Katie Pearl, hello. Heather Lamont Walker, hello. Thank you kindly for watching the show. Ray Cadell, hello.
Hey,
Michael Guthrie, hello.
I had a great conversation with Ray the other day.
He's watching the program. So is Michael. We appreciate you guys watching the program. Ellie Tucker, your husband's on the program on Friday. We're looking forward to that. Jeff Camrath, hello, the entrepreneur. Thank you for watching the program. Liza Borges, welcome to the program. Beth Mark, Donna Patton.
A little shout out to Michael Guthrie. There's 3 things just to kind of chat a little bit about what we continue the conversation we've been having for the last couple of days. And I was actually thinking of him earlier this morning. There's 3 things that show up on my phone every morning. It's be professional, be caring, and be trustworthy. And, that's kind of these 5:30 it shows up. These are the 3 things I try to achieve every day. And that's a direct plagiarism of Michael Guthrie. So thank you for all his guidance over the years.
We appreciate you, Michael Guthrie. Judah Wickower, the esteemed director and producer of this Fine and Fair talk show and the network. We can rock and roll Judah Wickower when you're ready. Wednesday morning, guys. I'm Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us here on Real Talk with Keith Smith, a show presented by Yes Realty Partners. You can find them online at yesrealtypartners.com. They've been in this game we call real estate since 1987.
Jeez,
Yes cool. Realty Partners.
That is a long time, man.
Trusted advisors. Today's program live on every social channel, wherever you get your podcasting content. And you, the viewer and listener, are encouraged to join us in the discussion by sharing your thoughts, your questions, your scenarios, your perspectives, wherever you're watching. Our software, it's proprietary. It aggregates your thoughts in one screen right in front of me. And then I pass that along to Keith Smith, the star of our show, who offers some insight and perspective on what you're thinking about.
Look at that smile.
Like he will be doing this particular Wednesday morning. It's good to see you, Keith.
It is good to see you. It's always good to sit in this seat, and always good to be here and to communicate with folks in this platform. I sent an email off to our guests who are going to join us on Friday, and Bill Tucker. So we're going to talk about the settlement from a real estate attorney's perspective and what it means to them and how he sees this moving forward. But we're like over 600 shows, and I'm honored and I just take it, for me to be speechless, just to contemplate that is pretty awesome, and to have the trust of the folks that are watching and listening, and maybe if they disagree with what I have to say, I hope at least they know I'm doing it from the heart and from the soul.
Maggie Gunnels, welcome to the
Hey, Maggie.
broadcast. You got a number of realtors watching
Yeah.
the talk show right now.
So I wanted to kick off on something real quick. As those who watch the show know that I track on a 7-day window how many units come on, new units, this is in the car footprint, and how many are going into pending. And on my trusty iPhone, I take a picture of it. So we're right at 70 today going back, and that puts us pretty much at the same number we were last year. And I think I know the great thing about talking about the settlement for last week, what didn't we talk about?
Inventory.
Inventory.
Or lack thereof.
And we're about ready to go there again.
Yeah.
Because the inventory's kind of tweaking down. So pretty much for the last several weeks, pretty much 4 weeks to 6 weeks, I've been looking at the 7-day, over 7-day window, and we've been averaging between 80, some of them over 100 new units. We're not bound to 70, but we've got 103 that are in pending. So that means right now, last 7 days back, there were 70 new units that came on, 103 went into pending. And if you start taking a look at the way they were tracking, like I've been doing day over day, it's been kind of a wash, right? So we're kind of going the opposite direction. It was so many, like 80 or 90 units came on the market, 80 to 90, almost to the exact number went into pending. So it was kind of a 1-to-1 ratio. As one came in, one went off. This is a very big, picture of the market. We're now opposite of that again. We're back to basically, we're flipped. There's more going into pending than is coming onto the market. Don't know what that's about. I can only guess. I think there was this little early spring shot of homes on the market. I think it's kind of balanced itself out a little bit. Literally, and I've got to pull it up on my phone, this same exact show a year ago, hold on a second here, I will make sure I have the numbers correctly. A year ago, it was 67 homes that came on the market and 102 went pending. So we're pretty darn close to the same exact week as we were a year ago. The big difference is, and we're same on the sold. There was about 56 the last 7 days that went into closing, and a year ago there was 55. The price changes is pretty interesting. It's exactly the same number, 42 and 42 on it. Open houses, excuse me, are about the same number too, 44 last year, 43 right now. So I think we had a bit of a shot, and I think it's starting to settle back in. I can tell you at our little shop, we're busy as one-arm paper hanger, which is a good thing.
A one-arm
paper hanger?
Paper hanger.
You never heard that one
I've
before?
never heard that. Jude, have you heard that one there? The one-arm paper hanger.
Yeah, it's a wallpaper, right? Never. That's a New York.
One arm, a wallpaper hanger.
Yeah, that's a New York contractor thing. One arm paper hanger.
One eye. So Yes Realty Partners is humming.
We are doing good.
Kevin Yancey, good morning. Bill McChesney, good morning. Thank you kindly for watching the program.
So I was hoping that we kind of kick off with a little bit of data and see if anybody is on the show that wants to chime in. Dealer's choice topic, if we want to talk about the settlement or wait until Friday on that to get the legal folks to do that. Talk about the fact that, is it ever going to stop raining? We could talk about Yonah doing the...
Johnny Ornalis likes the show. Kate Schartz, hello.
Thank you. We could talk about Yonah's 10-miler in the pouring rain on
I
Saturday.
know, what a rock star.
She did great. I'm very proud
All
of her.
the participants.
Yep. And it's an interesting thing. I am a recovering marathon runner, and I can't run anymore because of health reasons. But I could never... Yonah over the, I'm going to get myself into trouble here. Yonah over the years said, well, I never really understand all this thing. And let me tell you something. If you go out and run in the downpour in 40 degrees in a 10-mile race.
You're a runner.
You are a runner.
John Blair, welcome to the show. Thank you for watching us.
You are a runner.
Supervisors from two jurisdictions and one city councilor watching the program.
Cool.
A couple of planning commissioners on the feed right now.
So
what's the plan? This is a good one that's come in from right around the corner from us. What is your plan for interview on Friday with Mr. Tucker and Miss West?
So the plan is to simply get their perspective on what they think. You know, I've been for 2 days, what do they call it, pontificating?
Yeah.
Pontificating my opinion on
So
what
what we use often here.
on that, and that one actually hurt. I would like to hear his response. I've already have about a half a dozen questions from brokers and agents that we're going to aggregate to kind of kick the show off a little bit. They all asked to be anonymous, so we'll go ahead and do that, respect their wishes. But, you know, it's going to be, okay, Coach, what, from his perspective, how is this going to work? It is magically now July 1, or whatever date it is in July. We're formally decoupled. How does this process go through it, right? And a lot of these questions, frankly, are focused around, well, you know, how do I guarantee that I get paid, right? How does this process going to work from a legal perspective? And I'm also working on 2 lenders to come in and say, okay, well, how is this process, you know, from their perspective going to work?
Got a couple lenders watching the program as we speak.
On how this is going to work from their perspective. I've basically, for 2 shows, gave you my opinion. What I'm trying now, and I've kind of structured this intently, that it'd be Jerry and I for the first couple of days on it, and then we're going to start bringing in some experts who would like to sit with us and talk about that from their perspective, how they think this is going to happen and move forward.
Jonathan watching the program, he's a real estate investor. He says, you mentioned on Friday that you'd seen a couple listings with no broker buyer representation compensation. Any more of those he wants to know?
No. So thank you. So on Friday, I'm going to share that. I am sharing, I am putting in day over day what is in, until it goes away, what is in the MLS as offering of compensation. And I talked about this on Friday. I don't think anything really is going to change as far as how compensation is done, or eggs, or chickens, or whatever the heck we want to call it. On that, I actually think you're going to see a settle out of some number, right? But at the moment, I'm following since the 15th of March, on the Ides of March, for my Caesar folks out there, my Shakespeare folks, what it is. And at the moment, you know, and I'll share a spreadsheet on Friday, of the lowest I've seen is 2 eggs. So we're going to track it. We're going to see what happens, see what impact this actually has on it. I think to the question is this was a coming soon scenario that very quickly got taken off of either 0 or a fixed fee once they realized the buyers. I want to make sure I'm clear on this. This wasn't the agent that said this. This was the buyers that said that, to say, okay, I am not going to go see that home if I have to write a separate check. Right? And they went to go see a different home, and they immediately changed it. So I really don't think a lot of it is going to change. There's 3 things. I've gotten a ton of phone calls and emails and stuff, so I'm trying to be a little careful here on it. I honestly believe that this is a good thing for the industry. I honestly believe it should have been done a long time ago. I honestly believe the 3 things that this is going to come out of is transparency. Everything is going to be transparent. You're going to have to communicate. I'm going to have to be able to communicate via phone or text or something with the showing agent, so I know what the seller is offering. And, you know, the biggest one is, if you're going to have to be able to demonstrate your value proposition, what value do I bring to the table for Jerry or Mickey Mouse? And if I'm unable to do that, you know, and I've caught a lot of stuff, you know, I've got some really great positive stuff and not so positive stuff that, you know, how do I think we're going to be probably about 60% less?
60% less agents was your prediction.
So let me clarify that. There's going to be 60% less agents in associations. licensed agents. So there's two sides of the coin, right? There's a licensed agent and then there's an association. I don't think the licensed agents are going to drop down, right? Because to hold your license at the state level is not extremely expensive to do it. So you're a licensed agent. You can go inactive. You can do a bunch of different things to keep your license there. Here's a prime example. I'm a Class A general contractor, been since 1987. I will never,
Give that up.
ever,
Yeah.
ever let that expire. Period. End of story. I do everything I need to do to keep that, just because you never know when you need it. But it sits there. I do my dues. I do my continuing education. I do everything I need to do on that to do that. So I don't think you're going to see a decline of licensed agents. I think you are going to see a decline of
Association membership.
social membership.
And you associate that with the value proposition of what the association offers the agent, or lack thereof. If it's strictly an educational value proposition,
Well, I actually think that's a tremendous amount of value proposition.
but your prediction is, will other agents see it the same way you do?
Yeah, and
What is the total dues for the three associations, local,
yeah, I don't.
state,
I
and
literally,
national?
I literally don't know that.
What
number.
ballpark?
I think it's under 1,000, but I really don't know.
For all
Yeah.
three?
I don't know. I would be giving you a number that I wouldn't know off the top of my head. It is not a lot. The real cost of doing real estate business is your MLS dues and the cost of business, right? The cost that a lot of people don't realize we're independent contractors, we're independent businesses, right? So my time, my phone, my gas, right? Everything I make, if you're doing it right,
25, 30% to taxes.
go to taxes, right?
Paying health care out of pocket.
Paying health care out of pocket if you're fortunate enough to.
No different than a business owner.
Well, that's it. So a lot of folks don't realize real estate agents are independent business owners, even though I may hang
I
my
cover
license.
all those fees myself.
I understand
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And so when you start looking at those fees and those costs of businesses, right, it eats away at your bottom line pretty darn quickly. I think the thing that, and I did some quick math, and I'll probably get myself into trouble on this too.
Questions?
So, well, you go ahead and ask a question. I'm going to
This
find.
question's come in from Waynesboro's finest, Kevin Yancey. Why can't you be an independent agent?
So you're required by the state law to hang your license with a brokerage.
That's a D4 requirement.
It's a statutory requirement. So you're
We do that for some oversight, Kevin Yancey.
Yeah. So, just doing some quick math, the $418 million that NAR settled over 4 years, assuming NAR loses 30%, just to do some quick math, based on 1.5 million, NAR is going to have to charge, unless, the rate will go up as membership goes down, but a minimum of $100 a year. So that's what this is going to cost an agent. That's not a big number to be part of an association. So, this is not a huge number, but it's $100 nonetheless. As that membership decreases, that number obviously increases. So, I was asked, well, how is NAR going to pay for this the other day? Well, they're going to charge its members.
You're going to raise dues.
Yeah. So it's $100 if they lose 30%. If they lose more than that, that number starts climbing.
Logan Wells Claylow, welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, Logan, how you doing today?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 firms on the show right now. This from Rio Road, Mr. Jason Howard. Do you see the Baltimore Bridge collapse resulting in supply chain snarls, which could affect the cost of new builds and renovations moving forward?
Wow, what a great question.
That is a good question.
And
Well
what
done,
what a pivot. Thank you.
Well, there's more on the original topic. I try to relay the questions as they come in from a time standpoint.
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. The short answer to that is yes.
Absolutely. One of the largest ports in the world.
Yeah. But the question then you would have to break it down is how much of the housing products
Transitions through this port.
transition from container ship. a lot of it, and I'm just turning on my recovering developer and builder hat. I remember very clearly going when I was building, like when you had a hurricane down in Florida and all that stuff, all the materials would go there. There was usually this huge strain on that. The lumber side of it, I can't exactly know the quote. The lumber side of it mostly comes from Canada and the Pacific Northwest. Most of that does not come from overseas. Drywall and stuff like that potentially will come from overseas. There was a big class action suit about the Chinese drywall years and years ago. That stuff is coming mostly from the West Coast over. So I don't know how much of the home building material actually goes through the Baltimore port, but it will impact it in some way, shape, or form. The question is how quickly are they going to be able to open up that port? And actually, just to pivot a little bit, how come they didn't get the pothole people off of that bridge?
Well,
does anybody know the answer to that question?
We learned a little bit more information on the Baltimore Bridge accident this morning. Mayor of Baltimore tells national media that we had a Mayday signal
Yeah, I know all about that.
in advance, and we're able to clear a substantial
Look at everybody but 6.
amount of people off the bridge. That this could have been a way worse scenario.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a cop that did that should
It's a hero.
is a hero, right?
Yeah.
So they got the Mayday. They shut the bridge down. They got people off of it. I don't understand why the pothole people never came off. I don't understand that, right? If you're getting everybody off the bridge, you're getting everybody off the bridge. Now, maybe they didn't make it. Maybe they couldn't get off the bridge fast enough or something along those lines. But
This particular transporter has had some issues in the past.
But back to the base question, stuff that was coming into the Port of Baltimore for house construction is going to have an impact. It probably won't have an impact on the big guys, the Stanley Martins, the Ryans and stuff like that, because they typically warehouse a ton of their product, right? Windows, roofing, that kind of stuff on it. So
That's a good question for Keith Smith. With Jay Powell clearly indicating that rates are not going to be cut anytime soon with inflation staying sticky, does Keith see cash buyers being more prevalent recently in the market, or has that subsided?
I think that's subsiding, right? So
Yeah.
I can tell you to look at the last 7. That's been subsiding for a while, percentage-wise, been subsiding. But I'm going to take a look at right now what the sold market looks like here. Hang on one second.
Keep the questions coming in. I'll relay them live on
So out of 56 sales in the last 7 days, 17 of them were cash. The average sales price was $677. The conventional fix, which makes up majority of the most, there was 2 VAs. That sales price was the average was $616. So this is in the complete car footprint.
Bill Munkachi, welcome to the program. Charles Ix, welcome to the program. Juan Sarmiento, Sarah Hill Buchensky, welcome to the program. Questions coming in fairly quickly here. Aaron King, welcome to the program. Mike Plecker, the Shenandoah Valley's, one of them, finest backstomps, watching the program here. This is a very good question. What price point is moving the fastest, Keith? This question from Kirk watching the show.
Well, I could just take a look at the last 7 days here, and I can tell you that in a second here, but just give me...
It also follows with which county or area is seeing the inventory move the fastest. Good questions there. Jack, welcome to the program. Appreciate you watching the program.
Hang on one second. I will tell you that here in a minute. It takes me a second to go ahead and put this together. As we know...
Paragon's a bit clunky.
It's a bit clunky. So we're looking for area. So
Price point and area.
Yeah. So the residential attached, Albemarle County had 9. The average sales price was $439. This is again the last 7 days. In condos, there was 3, and there was 1 in Albemarle, 1 in Charleston, 1 in Nelson, and they were ranging between $240 and $255. Detached, the Star, no big surprises. Albemarle County. So this is single-family detached, which makes up the bulk of the sales on that. There was roughly 20 of them. The average sales price on that was $954. The median was $683. Next one was closest was Louisa County at 9. That was $376 average, $390 medium. Fulvana County 5, $350, $300, $350 average, $300 average. Nelson County, believe it or not, was at 5 also, which is a good turn of events for them. 435 average, 399 median, and then Green was 3 at 401 and 360. So, but the lion's share was in Albemarle County, a single-family detached. Average was 953 and 683. Now, keep in mind, this has new construction. 954, excuse me, was the average, but this includes new construction.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. The median was 683. So there you go. That's that analysis.
More commentary and questions coming in. This one on remodeling. Has remodeling slowed? And he highlights Lowe's and Home Depot numbers coming in that aren't looking fantastic. Thank you, Jack, for this.
Well, yeah, so we've talked about this before. There's a couple of national reports out there that talk about me, the boomer. They're not doing the upgrades to their homes. So, we're for whatever reason, that's not happening. So I can see that impacting the remodeling market. But, I mean, the question remains to me is this week of 71 new versus it's been like week over week over week over week in the 80 to 100, is this now a new trend? Are we going back down on inventory? And if so, why is that, right? So this is just a one.
What do you attribute that to? Are we going back down on inventory?
Well, we are. If we're at the same, we are.
Will the trend line continue?
That's the question.
Yeah.
And I don't know that. We'll know that because we'll keep a track of it. But my suspicion is.
Do we see the spring market spring in February and March?
That's, I think, what happened. I think you'll see the spring market kind of popped a little early. But we also can be in this. We can be in this kind of lull right now. People are. Trying to get their homes ready for the market. We'll hit the market. We'll find out. We'll see on Friday because I literally look at this daily on it, and I keep a track on, what comes on new on the market day over day. So we'll take a look at it and see what happens. But I think a lot of it has to do with I think there was this big pop. People in November and December kind of got their houses ready. Come after the first of the year, they put it on the market. That's when we started seeing the inventory climbing. There was a period of time there, of days there, that we were in this 90 to over 100 new units coming on week over week, but they were coming off as fast as they were going on. This invert we haven't seen for a long time, meaning there's more coming off than coming on. It's been kind of balanced for the last several weeks, going into a couple of months. So we have to see if that trend continues.
We'll give some attention to Interstate Service Company, a home's best friend, ISC, a multi-generational business, locally owned and operated. Interstate Service Company, a home's best friend for all your remodeling needs. Questions coming in quickly here.
Yeah.
Keith from Jennifer, why was the inventory popping, as you said earlier, than in years past? Is the seasonal, I'll add a question myself to that. Is the seasonal market even a thing anymore?
Well, we've talked about this multiple times. I think the seasonal market isn't the seasonal market anymore. The inventory is so tight. We're only talking about 20 units. Well, 25 units. A little bit more than 25 units, which proportionally is a big number, right? Because it was 80, 90, 100. The last couple of weeks, we were looking at 100 plus new units come on the market. Now we're back down to 70. The answer to the question, I think you're going to see the seesaw of inventory stuff's going to come on, stuff's going to come off. But this upside downness of more, 20 some odd units, 30, well, actually more than that, 30 something units in the same 7-day period went pending. So that means everything that hit the market a week ago kind of started feathering off. We'll check what the average days on market were for the ones that sold. I didn't look at that.
Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. I see the questions coming in quickly. Realtors, if you'd like to have some anonymity, let us know. Kyle Miller, the real estate investor, welcome to the broadcast.
So we're at 11. So the last 7 days, the median days on market were 11. Average was 62, though. So
Scott Thorpe, commercial broker, hello. Holly Foster, hello. Thank you for watching. Janice Boyce Trevelyan, thank you for watching the show.
So we're talking about, the three things that I think are going to come out of this, right? From my perspective, I'm running through my head, and maybe we can have this conversation. What does value proposition mean? What does it actually mean?
For whom?
For whoever, right? Buyer or seller, or whatever, or the agents. What is transparency actually? How is this transparency going to move along?
Andy Zeman, welcome to the broadcast.
And then how is the communication going to work? And that's just something that we're talking about internally.
Well, I see the value proposition for sellers when it comes to agents being as important as ever. If you're a seller, I've done a for sale by owner. It's no easy task. Not everyone is set up or wired for a for sale by owner. I did that with our home in Redfields. It was extremely challenging. That's not for everyone. The value proposition, if you're selling for a home, if you're working with a realtor, I think is undoubtedly there. Where you really want to focus on value proposition is buyer representation.
Correct, right? And I had I'll keep the name anonymous because the person called me on the way in, one of my calls on the way in today. This settlement says, okay, as of July 1. Now, the state of Virginia is different because we had to do this in 2012. As of July 1, you have to have a buyer-broker agreement. The problem with the state law, and I predict this, I see the state is going to start cleaning up some of its language, and it's going to take 12 to 24 months to do this because they move at a snail's pace, but I see they're going to start cleaning some of that up. It's a little ambiguous about when you actually need to sign the buyer-broker. Our brokerage is the moment you start talking about it definitively before you go see a house. You've got to have a buyer-broker agreement signed. But the question that was asked of me was, well, do I really think that's going to happen? Is this really going to happen? And you're going to have to, if it doesn't happen, if you don't do this as the buyer-broker agent and you don't express your value proposition, how are you going to get paid? How do you know you're going to get paid? This is a question for Bill on Friday, right? And so my answer is there's a one-time showing agreement, right? You can do that. You can send it off to
that question's coming in the feed here.
On the other side.
That literally is coming in right now.
On the other side to go ahead and fill that.
This is the question from Brian watching the program. I know he owns 2 properties. He says, does he envision a buyer-broker agreement that is less time frame and more property specific?
It always was. It always was, and it always is. So I want to get this. It always was this way. Since 2012, it's been this way. You can write in. This is a decision between the buyer's agent and the buyer, right? You can write 123 Main Street, and that's it, and we're done, right? Or you can write it for everything.
A time frame.
Well, no, you have to be specific in it.
Well, you could say from anything I show them from March 1 until July 1.
You have to be also more specific about that because you have to put in things in the MLS for sale by owners, new construction. All this stuff has to be, be very clearly delineated out there on how you can do that. Maybe at one point, somewhere closer to July, we'll do a little masterclass on buyer broker because I think they're going to change them to this viewer's point. We'll see how it comes together. But right now, it always has been that you're supposed to have a written buyer broker agreement before you have substantial discussion about real estate. And that is our friends at the state, our friends, all Dillon Rule people, that kind of put that thing out there, and it's very unclear on what that actually means, and it left it to the brokerages and the agents to determine what that is. My suspicion is there'll be some clarity that comes out of this. Internally, before we open up a door, we got to do this. And oh, by the way, if you're an agent, you want to have that buyer-broker agreement done, because if you open up that lockbox and the compensation is 0 eggs, guess what? It's 0 eggs.
Woody Fincham, welcome to the broadcast. Scottsville's finest, Philip Dow, has got a commentary for you. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. We'll relay them live on air as we aggregate your perspective with our proprietary software. Philip Dow, I was having a beer with a project manager of a local construction company. He said the last couple days he has been taking classes on code changes. He said any construction...
On what now?
What's that?
I'm
Code
sorry.
changes.
Got it.
He said any construction, remodeling, or anything new construction, 15,000 to 20,000 will be added to the job based on the new codes coming out.
Yeah. So I think what he's probably talking about is what defines you as a Class A, Class B, or Class C. He might want to clarify that, because it's usually about the volume of business that you can do. But that would be a great clarification.
Brian's got a follow-up question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that the buyer-broker agreement is going to be much more specific or clear with its language. But in the past, it has been, as Jerry described, a window of time generally.
No, it's multiple things. So I'm actually going to pull it up right now, and we can talk about it real quick. It's
Brian,
always
I would imagine, don't want to speak for you, is looking to scale his holdings.
Yeah.
I know he's got one, which is pretty impressive considering his age, rental property.
Yeah. So hold on 1 second here, and I will go ahead and find the form so I am not misspeaking, and I speak about it intelligently, which I know is a difficult thing for me to do.
We appreciate you, Maggie Gunnels,
Hey, Maggie.
for liking the show. Congratulations on your success as well, Maggie.
Yeah.
Questions? I don't want to get you off track if you want me to keep firing questions.
No. So let me, because I need to get this out there. Okay. Let's talk about the buyer broker, which has been around since, I will tell you the bottom because it has a date on it, since 2012. So this agreement is made. You pick a date, and it's between who, what, and where. The second item is it talks about the property. This is where you can put in a specific property or put in the MLS, for sale by own, and new construction. We have specific language. The second thing is the term. It starts on day one and it ends on whatever day. So that's in the first 6 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 lines it is. Then it describes what's the duty of the broker. Then it describes what's the duty of the buyer. Then it talks about compensation, our eggs, on how we're compensated on it. And it's a couple of pages, and you're done. Everybody signs it. It's pretty clear, straightforward, pretty simple document to do. We will now have to do this regularly. And part of the problem on a national level, there's a handful of states that actually require this. Virginia is one of them. Most of the country, or a majority of the states, do not have this requirement of a buyer-broker agreement to be signed before you go in.
Harold Hertz, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you kindly for joining us on the show. Real estate investors, let us know your thoughts. I see a handful of you guys watching the program right now. For the most part, you see the changes as being positive.
Yeah, I do. I think this is...
Got a question on mortgage demand coming in.
I think this is good for the industry. I think, like any change, there's always a little bit of panic, right? I think it's good for the industry. Back to the thing is you're going to have to, both sides of the coin, right? The listing side and the buying side, you're going to have to demonstrate your value proposition. I call it being a pro. The pros are going to do well here. Those who can explain the value proposition, how we do business, what value I bring to the buyer and the seller for whatever fee I wish to charge on it, whatever percentage of eggs or chickens or hippopotamuses, whatever we're calling it, on it.
Is
I
that
can't
the
believe we're
plural
not.
of hippopotamus?
I don't know. I
Is it
just
hippopotami?
yeah, I don't
It's
understand
hippopotami?
why. I don't understand why I can't use the word percentage. But anyway,
I don't understand why you can't
but in any event, whatever you negotiate, I think
The C word is what you couldn't use.
the C word.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the chicken and egg. If I can't do that, then, maybe I shouldn't be in the business.
This is a good one, and this is something that's come up last week on the previous show, and this is from one of your colleagues. It's not the buyer that has to explain. The buyer's representative.
Exactly right. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, it's not the buyer's representative that has to explain the value proposition. It's the seller's representative
That's
that has
exactly
to
right.
explain it to their client.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And she continues, that is wherein lies the rub.
Yes.
Because not all sellers reps will or are capable of explaining that to their clients. Break down what she's saying.
Yeah. So thank you, whoever. I guess they wanted to stay anonymous.
You know who this person is.
Got it. So 100%. I've said this on the show Wednesday, Thursday. And part of my reason I'm toning my tone down a little bit is
I think your tone. I thought your tone was fine.
Well, I
Just a sensitive industry.
no, I used a few words I shouldn't have used.
Oh,
so.
you're saying the profanity?
Yeah.
Okay, that was one time.
I know that in 600 something shows, but I'm not extremely proud of it.
Okay. My son, you are forgiven.
Thank you.
You've gone to
It
broadcasting confessional. You are forgiving.
It is Holy Week after all. So
Yes, it is.
yeah, so 100% right. We talked about this on last Wednesday. This is more impactful, I think, on the listing and the selling side than it is on the buying side, right? Because, look, I've been doing this for 35 years. What has gotten harder to do? Real estate. Transactions are difficult. There are a ton of moving parts. It requires a ton of skill. Communication is number 3. You've got to communicate with a bunch of folks to go ahead and get it done. Back on the communication side, the 100% right. You've got to sit down and talk to the the seller and go, okay, here's where we're at. By the way, this has always been.
She adds the seller's the presentation that we're going to be making to sellers now just got more complicated.
Has it really? I mean, we hold on a second, because I want to try to actually open up the listing agreement and read it verbatim. So just give me 1 minute and go ahead while if you don't mind chatting for a second. I want to find this so I have the right document.
I appreciate your diligence here.
I want to make
Real
sure.
Talk with Keith Smith online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Click the Partners tab, and you will see trusted advisors in the supply chain we call real estate that Keith and his team have personally vetted to help you get to the closing table and beyond. realtalkwithkeithsmith.com.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that softball. The reason I wanted to find it because it got changed in February. So I wanted to make sure that I had
All right,
this.
we got questions coming quick. Keep going, Keith.
I got to get with your program there, Smith. So if you take a look at the new form that is filled out, there's a item number 3 that talks about broker compensation. So there's A, B, C, D, and E, which A is dual agency, which we'll probably pick apart here in a little bit, designated agency. There's an unrepresented purchaser, which we'll talk about that for a minute because there's an actual form for that you can fill out. And then there's D, which is the buyer broker compensation, where you start breaking out percentage of eggs and so forth and so on. And there's a couple other boxes to check off. But whoever did that, you're 100% right. I have to sit down and have a hard conversation with them. Back to what we talked about on Wednesday on these 2 agents that called me, that their seller said, I don't want to offer any eggs on it. All of a sudden found out that because I filled out my buyer broker agreement, and I now need to have a conversation with my buyer and go, look, we want to go see listing A that's offering 0 eggs. Per our buyer broker agreement, we need to figure out how we're going to get compensated.
And you're saying the
For whatever-
buyers said we don't want to see those homes.
The agent is not allowed to do that, right? That's a clear violation of ethics. If it happens or not, it's a different story, but it's unethical. You give the information to the buyer, and then because I now, before I showed your house, I've signed a buyer-broker agreement, right? Now, we're going to talk about on Friday the old what if. What if we go through all this and the seller decides not to pay it? What do you do then, coach? And the only way to do that is you have this one-time showing agreement, or you put it in the contract, just like the commercial contract and the contracts out in the Pacific Northwest. Contracts Pacific Northwest have which side gets paid. It's in the contract. It's done. It's finished. Everybody's agreed to it. Everybody's signed it. But in the meantime, until that gets done, all you got to do is look at residential one-time showing agreement that's in the Virginia Realtors thing, and it talks about how I get paid. The seller says, "Yep, I'll go and do that," and it has to be signed before you go show the property.
Johnny Ornelas, thank you for sharing the show. Give little props to Johnny there.
Yeah, Johnny, loving him. So, I think
we're going to go down dual agency.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. You want to set the table first for dual agency for the non-sharps and insiders?
Yeah. So let's define dual agency at the simple terms. Dual agency is Jerry's the seller, Judah's the buyer. I'm representing both parties. This is full representation on both parties, right? Here's the snag here. All I really am at that point is facilitating paperwork back and forth. I cannot give Jerry any advice or negotiating stuff without also communicating it with Judah. This is why attorneys generally don't represent both sides of a client. Oh, I got Woody Finchin calling me. Hold on a second. Woody, I'm on the show,
He's
brother.
Watching the show.
Yeah, just tell him I'm on the show. I cannot. I cannot.
Maybe it's a pocket dial.
It could have been a pocket dial because I think he's actually at the car board meeting right now. But in any event, I can't give any more information. I have to give the same exact information to you as I give to Judah. So if Jerry says, is Judah's offer a really good offer? Or what can we do to negotiate a better deal? I'm going to have to back off and say, I can't, whatever you tell me, I need to tell him. It's just, our shop does not allow it. I think it's a slippery slope.
Do any shops do it?
I don't know. I'm sure that they are. But it is a dangerous, slippery slope because you can very easily say something or do something inadvertently and just put yourself in a big thing. And oh, by the way, this has got nothing to do with what some association says you can or can't do. This is agency law. This is not, this is not a $50 fine, a $75 fine. You violate this. If I violate the confidence of one of my buyers in a dual...
Jennifer says, but yes, how will this be enforced?
So that is literally a debate my wife and I had at 5:30 this morning. And that's a great question. And how that's going to be enforced. If it's done the way
she follows, it would become a he said, she said.
So I don't know. Okay, so this is my opinion, for what it's worth. Like to smile, huh?
Oh, you caveated something.
Yeah, I've caveated something.
Can't wait to hear what it says here.
Yeah. So if I do dual agency and I do my job correctly, right, and represent both parties equally and fairly and do not share fiduciary between either or, I do it exactly the way I'm supposed to do it, you know what, it can happen. People can do this. There are certain deals that could possibly happen. Happens on commercial quite a bit, actually, on it. But it's usually at a whole different level, right? But what if I violate that? And I think this is how this gets enforced. So let's paint a scenario. Jerry tells me something about, well, I I really could take. I really would
My
accept.
bottom line is this.
I'm in a desperate situation. I really will take 2 eggs less or 2, whatever it is, amount of.
Or this is my bottom line, and you're representing somebody else, and you don't pass that on.
And then I go to Judah and say, you know what? I got it. Well, you can get this deal because I know Jerry is going to lower the price by X amount. Write it that way, I'll make it happen. That is a clear violation.
That's a no-no.
Right?
How's that enforced?
So how that's enforced is at some point Jerry figures out I did that. And then he files suit against me personally.
She follows up.
And
That's a he said, she said, she says.
Correct, but we just went through a whole lawsuit and lost it on that. One could look at that as a he said, she said. But if you can demonstrate that I've done
That's
that,
less of a he said, she said.
yeah, what can happen is you 2 guys are neighbors and you don't know each other, and he goes, I'm glad that you were willing to lower to my whatever it is. He can say something. Jerry gets pissed because this is tens of thousands of dollars out of his pocket, and he just sues me personally. Oh, by the way, I drop a dime at the Commonwealth's attorney because that violates agency law, right? So, this whole ethics thing and stuff with the association is it's self-policing itself. There's also state law that you have to go and do that. But you're 100% right. It would be difficult to do that. I think
she has a follow-up for you.
Let me finish this up.
Yeah.
I think in lieu of what has just happened and the uber sensitivity to everything, if you do what I just described, you shouldn't have a license anyway. I'll just said that.
Her follow-up is this, and I appreciate you commenting on the show. How many has he seen actually enforced in his time that led to action?
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Probably none.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the point she's making.
I understand that, but we're in a different world now, right? And we'll just see how this stuff shakes out. But what could happen, that is a scenario. It could happen. Look, when somebody starts losing a lot of money, there's a lot of people with deep pockets that'll pick up the phone and call an attorney and say, I want to pursue this. And then it becomes who defends that person, right? As far as on the agent end of it, does my brokerage defend me? Does the associate defend me? Do I have to defend myself? And I'll just publicly say this, I've never been a fan of dual agency. I think it's a very slippery slope. I think if you were going to really do that, you would do an unrepresentative or do a designated agency.
Or refer it.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what designated agency. Just refer it out. You do that.
It's the easy way to do it.
But what makes people funny? Money.
Yeah, funny.
And
money.
there's going to be some slippery slopes out there, I'm sure. But if everybody does what they're supposed to do and are professional, back to my number one value proposition, back to my shout out I gave to Michael Guthrie, be professional. If everybody is professional and does their job professionally, ethically, and morally, this shouldn't be an issue.
Charles asks, explain why it's so prevalent in commercial.
It's prevalent in commercial is because of the transparency, and the people that are dealing with it are generally sophisticated buyers and sellers. They do this on a regular basis.
That's the key there. Charles, in a nutshell, the players in the commercial space have a level of sophistication that is not generally as prevalent or
and here's the difference
as residential.
And so where we're gonna get to in July is where commercial operates now. Right, so I do a lot of commercial, and generally the first thing, I just had a meeting yesterday with a commercial client looking to lease some space, right? And the very first thing I did is I called the agents on the other side, which by the way are licensed agents in the state of Virginia. They just don't belong to CAR and NAR, right? And I said, okay, so tell me what your landlord is offering in compensation. And how does it work? How am I getting paid? And so forth and so on. Into that, I convey that to my client. I've got a buyer broker. I've got a leasing a contractual agreement with my tenant on that. It worked out. The numbers are about the same. Thank you very much. Number 3, communication. This is what this is about. We're going to have to communicate with each other. And that's how that went through. Back on the dual agency end of it, Jerry can come to me and say, or whoever, Mickey Mouse, and say, I need this sold or I need this leased. And you go, you know what, I've got somebody to go ahead and do this. And I immediately disclose everything to everybody. Immediately disclose. I'm representing Jerry, I'm representing Ed. You two guys are comfortable with this. There's a dual agency form that we signed that everybody understands this. And we start having this conversation before we get into actual negotiations of the contract. But it is not uncommon that it's covered by both sides.
This is from Brian. Please give Keith my props. This is, as he calls it, a masterclass in navigating very sticky scenarios.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've had a couple of tough conversations on the way in this morning that I may be overstepping my bounds and not helping the community and stuff like that. And I don't generally get rocked on my heels that easily. But I honestly believe in my heart and soul the conversation we're having about this is doing the right thing.
Telling the truth?
Yeah, well, just telling the truth, right?
Bellamy Brown, hello.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just speaking from the heart.
Telling the truth.
I'm speaking from the heart. I've been criticized a little bit how I can predict what's going to happen. Look, all you got to do is go back into September.
Yeah, it's documented.
And that I predicted decoupling will happen. We just now have a date. So anybody who thinks decoupling wasn't going to happen was living under some proverbial rock somewhere. This was going to happen.
Perhaps they just didn't know that it was going on.
Well, they chose not to know.
I mean, sounds like quite a few were not following the news cycle.
Again, value proposition.
Absurd.
Again, value proposition. This is part of why I do the show. I get X's all the time. Why do I do this all the time? It makes me better at what I do every day. But the value proposition is this key. Transparency. We just described this dual agency thing. Just be transparent, but understand. Everybody has to understand what they're getting themselves into, and if they do that, and if all parties are good with it, then it's great. Again, commercial, it happens. I do more dual representation in commercial, but it's abundantly clear. Everybody signs a document. Everybody understands what everybody's role is. At this point in time, when you're talking about multi-million-dollar transactions, these are generally pretty sophisticated buyers and sellers or lessors and lessees on that end of it.
This question or this comment has come in. We have Friday on our calendar.
Yeah, we do. So we've got
the viewer said that.
Yeah, thank you. So I've two edges of the cord. Some people are a little critical of me. Other people are saying I can't wait for Friday. So you're going to see a Facebook post a little bit out there to everybody to come in on Friday.
Let them know your plan.
Yeah, so the plan is really simple. This has been Keith giving his opinion for 3 days. We're now going to bring experts in to give their opinions on what they think this is going to go like. I've been, the little criticism that I've been receiving was how can I project what's going to happen? Well, all you got to do is read the tea leaves. I said on previous shows, I think we were going to cut down to 30% that are part of these associations, not licensed real estate agents. I think it's going to be closer to 60%. I don't see they're going to have to start demonstrating what their value proposition is. It's that simple. And if their value proposition is legitimate, great. If their value proposition is not, there's going to be some hard decisions that folks are going to.
Quentin Beckham, welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, Quentin, how you doing?
Bill Tucker and Katie West on the Friday
if my
edition.
license gets sent back.
Bill Tucker and Katie West on the Friday edition of Real Talk.
It's going to be exciting. I'm so glad to see. We're going to have other people come on. I've invited a bunch of real estate agents. Some are uncomfortable with talking in a public environment about this. Hopefully that changes, and we can get some real estate agents out here to talk about this from their perspective on it. But I'm going to continue to be truthful and transparent. I'm going to continue to show value proposition be transparent and communicate. And this is just a public forum that we're communicating with.
Well said. Keith Smith, Real Talk with Keith Smith, online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Click the browser tab and find folks that you can count on in this game we call real estate, realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Mark your calendars for this Friday at 10:15 a.m. with a legend and Bill Tucker in the house, sitting next to Keith and Katie West.
I can't wait for that conversation.
Thank you kindly for joining us on a Wednesday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. For Judah Wickower and Keith, my name is Jerry Miller. I Love Seville show at 12:30. So long, everybody.
Later, taters. All right. Thank you, Jerry.